Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be working on the WRX. When we first got it, under wide open throttle and under load, it would start stalling out. As we've gone through and done all the maintenance on it, little by little it's gone away. And at idle it drives completely fine now, but again, still under load and wide open throttle, it hesitates a little bit. We've gone through the whole car at this point. What Asus and I ended up doing off camera was we checked fuel pressure. It was a little low at idle, and then as we went through the RPM range, the fuel pressure didn't keep up like it should have. So pretty sure the fuel pump's bad. Or I'm thinking the other option is the fuel pickup is clogged, which considering how dirty this car was when we got it, it's probably not out of the question. Jesus and I just went ahead and bought a new fuel pump. This car is old, so we went ahead and got a new little gasket for the cover for the fuel pump. And in here we got a DeatschWerks fuel pump. It's supposed to be plug and play since we're not doing any like power adders. We got fuel hose, clamp. I really like this. I didn't want to splice into the wiring just because I prefer to avoid that when possible. So this has the harness so we don't have to do that. Here we have the fuel pump. I am a little nervous to see if this actually fixes the problem because obviously it clearly was. There's something wrong with the fuel pressure, but there's the other thing that everything was gunked up, including the sensors. I went through and I did clean things like the MAF, but just from previous experience, cleaning something doesn't always fix the problem, and there's probably a good chance I may have to replace some of those sensors. But there is the second thing that I found out: this car has the cats deleted. From what I read online, after the turbo, there's supposed to be a cat, and as you can see, that section's actually been cut out, and then there's been just some piping welded right back in place. I really can't get a good look at it, but right there before the turbo, there's actually supposed to be another cat on this car, but again, that's been taken out and replaced with a straight pipe as well. I've read online that these cars can be pretty finicky when it comes to removing the downpipes, and that can cause some issues that we're experiencing. So I'm really hoping that's not the case. I just wouldn't be surprised if after we replace the fuel pump, that's still an issue. And if that's the case, I don't know. We'll just see. Gonna do the fuel pump, remain hopeful, and then go from there. We're gonna go ahead and get started with removing the fuel pump. First step though is actually taking off or disconnecting the battery. I did that earlier this morning just to make sure that by the time I got around to doing the fuel pump on this car, the car was I guess completely discharged electrically. Jesus was the one that took off the back seat last time, but if I recall correctly, it's just some bolts down here at the bottom, and then that allows us to pull the bottom seat out. And I think to take off the top, we had to take off or disconnect the seat belts, and then there are some bolts up here or something like that. Should be easy enough. It took them like 5 minutes last time. This panel right here is one huge piece and it broke off. That kind of is what it is. From here, it should be pretty easy. I believe I just undo these 4 screws, and then there will be the top to the fuel tank. Ooh, oh Lord, is that gross. Wow. I shouldn't be surprised because this car has been sitting forever. I think I'm gonna start with the vacuum and then I'll wipe off what I can. Yeah, I don't even know. That's just so gross. Take it out. I am sorry guys, but the camera ended up dying as I was releasing this one. This one wasn't too bad. All I had to do was pinch this down and then pull back and the line came off. The unfortunate thing, which is totally my fault, is I forgot to relieve the fuel pressure in the lines. And what I should have done was pull out the fuse to the fuel pump, turn the car over till it died. That way all the fuel came out. And now I have fuel gushing out. Luckily, it's a small amount, but I just need to be very careful. These two are probably going to be the pains because they've been on there for so long. I'll take tiny little pliers. Well, of course, I'm going to take off the bracket first, but then I'll take tiny pliers to break the seal loose, and then I'm going to try to push it with the flathead off. Typically works pretty well. As I do this, I make sure to be very careful because I have messed up lines doing this in the past. Yeah, take your time. Do not get angry. This is tough. There you go. Got part of the seal broken. The full seal is broken. These tinier ones can sometimes be more of a pain. Never mind. This one's coming off real easy. Off to the side. As far as like lines go, that was actually relatively easy. I've had other ones that were just a huge pain in the butt, specifically the Skyline ones. All we got to do now is undo these little 8mm bolts and we should be able to pull the whole fuel pump out. I don't know if this makes a difference, but when it comes to breaking bolts loose, I always like to do them in a somewhat, I don't know, crisscross pattern. just to be safe, and that's worked for me. These bolts are all coming really loose. I'm super happy. It's common for them to be rusted out, but luckily here in the Northwest, at least where I live in, rust isn't a big deal. There's a little bracket. I'm just gonna try to push that out of the way, maybe. Okay, I guess not. There's really not a lot of room. I'm trying to pull this out. I'm gonna have to push that off to the side. And that bracket's a pain in the butt. It's right there. All right. Fuel sending unit. Trying to be careful with this stuff. The pickup, I anticipated this being like caked with stuff. I'm gonna drain that out, but it's not. So maybe it's just the fuel pump on its way out because it sat for so long. The fuel pump is out and I'm honestly a little bit shocked. I anticipated that the pickup here would be clogged with gunk, and it's not. I mean, you can see that it's like dirty and stuff like that. So here's the new pickup and then there's that. Everything's pretty straightforward. I obviously undo these clamps right here. Up here, right here is where the wiring connects to the fuel pump, and then up there is where it connects to the housing. So I undo those. And then this should just come on out, I believe. Here are the two pumps side by side. The new one's actually slightly larger, not too bad. Other than that, it looks pretty much identical. Same connectors, should be good. My apologies, everyone. As I was sitting here putting this back together, I kept coming in and out of frame. So in terms of the reassembly process, it may not be the best, and I apologize. Everything went in pretty good, just like it should. The only issue I had was with this little grommet down here. Once I had this fitted in, it was a super tight fit. So what I ended up doing was I just bent this slightly down, slipped the grommet in, and then I bent it back into place and no issues. Not the ideal way. I prefer not to bend stuff when possible, especially since this is supposed to be just drop in, no modification. Honestly, if that's all I had to do, really hard to complain. With most parts anyways, or at least upgraded parts, they never fit perfectly fine 100%. You always need to massage things a little bit. After I am done screwing this little hose on, she can go back in, and the fuel pump is fully assembled. She's in place. We got the fuel sock, the fuel pickup right here, the line, these are snug down. The new wiring harness was awesome because it just clipped into place. We're going to put the fuel pump back in and everything like that. Should be straightforward. Oh, actually, one last thing. Right here is a little gasket, mainly because I don't really know the service history of this car. I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. I got an OEM one. They're only like $7 or $8. They're very, very inexpensive. Again, I don't play around when it comes to the fuel. So I went ahead and bought a new one, and we're gonna throw this on, put the fuel pump back in. Well, right now we are at a very crucial point. The fuel pump is back in. You can actually see back there, I haven't put the cover back on, mainly because I want to prime the fuel pump just to make sure that it's not leaking or anything like that. I did hook the battery back up. We're going to, I can hear, okay, the pump just primed. All right, it's not leaking anything. That is a victory in my book. Sweet. She runs a little bit smoother, although that could be like a placebo effect because I just replaced a part, so I'm expecting it to run better. Let's turn her off. Right now, the plan is put the interior back together. Well, guys, I am a little bit frustrated because, well, first of all, the GoPro died. I messed up and didn't pay attention to the battery life. But secondly, the car's still doing it, so let me show you guys real quick. You hear that? The car still has a slight hesitation. I will give it that it is a little bit better, actually. But I want to burn this thing down right now. Again, it's getting better, but you would think with all the work we've done, from changing fluids, spark plugs, the fuel pump, I mean, like, it would be good by now. This thing's annoying. Here's one last little pull just to show you guys. I'm in second gear. I'm gonna get on it. I'm not doing anything crazy, and then boom, it hesitates. The hesitation is a lot better than it used to be, that's for sure. Right now I'm parked and the car doesn't hesitate like when it's not under load. So here right now I'm about to give it full throttle. Nothing. Totally fine. Totally fine. Goes to the full RPM range. I'm really at a loss right now. I'm thinking, I want to double check all the vacuum lines just to be safe. Earlier I mentioned, you know, potentially a sensor that's gummed up. Luckily, I do have a little bit of time to like ponder everything. So yeah, that's all really we got for today's video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below because, well, I'd love to hear different opinions since I'm a little stumped on this one right now. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.